All right, moving on. Next bit of news. We have two more pieces of news to jump into. This is not a positive piece of news, Tim, I'm afraid to say. This comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter, and they are reporting not just The Hollywood Reporter. This has kind of been around for a few months now. Ray Fisher is making a lot of, can I say injustice? Being that he was in the movie Justice League, he's making a few claims against director Joss Whedon, as he had to take over instead for previous director. Why is his name is skipping my mind? Anyway, the previous director, Zack Snyder, he had a lot of tragedy befall his family, so he had to step down from the Justice League film. Joss Whedon stepped in to take over, and apparently Joss Whedon was less than professional. Ray Fisher goes on to say he was abusive. In the article, it says, on July 1st, Justice League star Ray Fisher wrote on Twitter that filmmaker Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League were gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He wanted to claim that producers Jeff Johns and John Berg had enabled the filmmaker who oversaw reshoots after Zack Snyder stepped down from Warner Brothers. On Thursday, Fisher wrote on Twitter that after 5 weeks of interviews with the cast and crew, Warner Media had launched an independent third-party investigation to get to the heart of the toxic and abusive work environment created during the Justice League reshoots. This is kind of, it's terrible news. Anytime that you hear claims of people being abusive or less than savory, these are claims that we never like to hear, especially when they come from beloved creators, especially within the nerd genre like Joss Whedon. Tim, this may be the first time you're hearing of this. What is your initial gut reaction? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's too bad. I know. I don't want to make it as cavalier as that. Oh, it's
well, too bad. Moving on.
Yeah, no, not at all. He has some problematic moments in his past, I guess, as well. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't. It's hard to hear that, because it's a thing that obviously in the past 10 years, really, it's all the news coming out about different sorts of abuses taking place within the entertainment industry, this film industry especially. And it's not that I'm desensitized to it at all. It's kind of the opposite. It's almost like we expect people to hear things now about people that we enjoy the work of or whatever. And I think that for a little while there, Joss Whedon kind of had created a little bit of a reputation as, or attempted to, I guess, create a reputation as a feminist and somewhat of a, I guess, responsible artist in an industry that's filled with, misogyny and all sorts of issues. But,
yeah, like something like this, it's a difficult pill to swallow, because on one side, like, we look at his past history, with Firefly and Buffy and Dollhouse and Avengers and, Avengers 2 and, all the other wonderful things that he's had his, creative fingertips in. And as you say, he's been a huge champion for women in film and television for such a long time. And he has kind of been that moral bridge that we can kind of look to and say, like, this is a good example of someone in the arts being responsible and taking responsibility for doing the right thing. And when, something like this comes out, it is a hard pill to swallow, because it's one of your champions being knocked off the pedestal a little bit, maybe a lot of bit. And I think it's great, because as the main point of the article is that Warner Media is investigating these claims from Ray Fisher, and they're not just coming from Ray Fisher; they're coming from multiple sources. So they're looking into that. They're looking into like what type of abuse, how severe was it, all those types of things. And I think this is something that, for a long time has gone overlooked. I constantly use the example of Alfred Hitchcock. Alfred Hitchcock is a fantastic filmmaker. There's no doubt about that. But boy, oh boy, was he a kind of a horrible rapscallion. And to put it in those terms makes it sound, a little trivial. I don't mean it to sound that way, but he was kind of a not great human being, especially when it comes in terms of abuse and psychological abuse on his actors. So anytime something like this hits us, I think we're all gonna have that like gut punch to the bread box and say like, this is something that needs to be taken care of. This is something that needs to be solved. We need a second look. We need a third look. We need multiple pair of eyes on these situations. And what are some safety catches that we can put in place? What are some new policies that we can put in place to make sure that stuff like this doesn't happen anymore? It's become too prevalent in the world over the years.
Sure. I mean, the really unfortunate thing is this type of thing happens at every level of power within the arts hierarchy. I mean, we're talking about the biggest stage, obviously, but if you go anyway, go through all the different levels of TV, film, live theater, comedy, etc., people in positions of power or perceived power, and a director is definitely one of those things. Abuse is a form for them, I think, of getting what they want, obviously, and if it's really yeah, you told me not to swear, and I did pretty good right there.
This is even something that we've had to deal with in our own communities, in our own respective communities. I'm an improviser in New York. Tim, you're an improviser formerly in Rhode Island, now in Nevada, and these types of issues have gone unchecked for decades.
Yeah.
Decades and decades, because improv hasn't, as we know it, hasn't been around all that long. And so with this type of behavior just going unchecked, now we have this huge movement of reform and saying like, all right, let's take a second, third, fourth look at this. Let's get multiple pairs of eyes on this situation so that we can put these policies in place moving forward to make everyone feel accepted, to make everyone have an opportunity to create the best type of art that they can. Anyways, guys, we can belabor this point to death. Hello, dead horse. Do you need another beating? Which probably is not the best idiom to use in this example. But hey, I just did. So anyway, go drop down to the comment section below. Leave us your thoughts and comments. There's a lot of crazy things going on in the world, so please most definitely give us your thoughts and opinions.